We are live. Thank you so much for those of you who tuned in. We are set for a special day, a special occasion. We have two special guests. So if you are currently seeing just myself, I can't wait to introduce both my co-host, which is Terry Combs. Terry, how are you today? Say hello to the wonderful world.
I'm doing great, doing great. Hello, everyone.
And then we also have two amazing VIPs from Action Engineering. Erik Naftal and Marcia Derryberry are here to illuminate us, to share their amazing world of manufacturing. Why don't we give a chance to say, ladies first. Marcia, a quick shout out. How are you today?
Hello, I'm great, awesome, great to see everybody, and thanks for having us.
You're the best. And Erik, how are you doing today?
I'm awesome, guys. Thank you very much for having me. Great to be here. Can't wait to get into things with you.
You are awesome, and you can see from this current slide in your background, if you can't, you should in a minute, that these are two of our amazing tools. I think of these as tools in the toolbox, right? We have a printer and a pre-treater and a heat press, but you know what else we have? We have these wonderful specialty application pallets, and that's really hard for me to say, and we're going to talk about that here in just a second. So our guests are Erik and Marcia. They are the stars of the show. Terry and I are going to pretend to guide this ship a little bit, and we have some questions prepared. So glad that those of you who've tuned in live, if you have the opportunity and want to comment in a chat, Terry and I will be monitoring that as well. I'll keep one eye on the chat window. But what we really want to do is we want to kind of start off with a little bit of a debate. And the debate is over the terminology, if that makes sense. So Terry and I have had this conversation in the past, and we don't want to ruffle any feathers. We recognize you both as the experts. But for most of my life, I have said platen and not said pallet. And so maybe you could help steer us in the direction. And Terry, I don't know if that's been true for you, but is that the case?
Oh, absolutely. And there are purists in our industry that when you say pallet, they say a pallet's what you put boxes on. It isn't what you print on. So Marcia and Erik, you guys use the term pallet all the time.
All right, let me take this from the beginning, because I just teased everybody on Facebook about an hour ago and said that we would be facing the old all-time industry dilemma, and I would let people know what it was when we went live. So it is there a difference between pallet and platen or platen, and are they interchangeable words? Now, I spent the first 33 years of my life in this industry using them interchangeably until July 26th when I started working here. And so that was one of the first conversations I had with Erik. Now I can't remember how the date ended. I don't know if we came to a decision or if I made it up myself, but I noticed that in the past 2.5 to 3 months that I've worked here, I have not used the word platen at all. I've used a pallet. Everyone here refers to it as a pallet. So given that, we had the discussion again this morning, and I looked it up, actually. I Googled it, and a platen technically on an old typewriter, remember those things, those of us in our 50s. We were just having a 50s conversation before we went on air. But the roller that the paper winds around is called a platen.
I did not know that.
And also, here's a good one, the plate in a small letterpress printing press that presses the paper against the type. So the platen originally was referring to paper printing, not textile printing. So I don't know at what point it got adopted, but I figured at this point we would throw it over to the king of all things, pallets and platens. Since Erik's the engineer and has been a pioneer in this industry, I think as an industry standard, we all adopt it today. Whatever he says, we'll go with.
I love it.
No pressure,
Okay.
Erik.
No pressure, Erik. No pressure at all.
Okay, so, I started in this industry in 1976. Back then, they were referred to as pallets. In the last almost 30 years, I have worked to develop solutions for every single major machine in the world. Every single guy I've ever run into has always called them pallets. You go to M&R's website, it says pallets. You go to M&M's websites, it says pallets. You go to Rock's website, it says pallets. So I'm going to have to stick with pallets.
Fair enough. I think that
I don't know where that came
that
from
is
either.
The
The pallet and the platen thing, and
a shirt board. I
we
remember
looked
when
at platen, and platen definition sounds to me like it's pushing the substrate down. So
Like
Oh,
a heat press, I think of a heat press as a platen.
that's a heating platen, sure.
right.
okay.
It's a platen.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So
Well,
what is it
and even
what
in
is the
screen
platen
printing
specimen
supply,
used?
even screen printing supply folks who say no, it's a platen, but they also sell pallet mask to cover the platen. So
Right.
I'm going to change my tune. I'm a pallet guy now too.
Terry,
I think pallets.
wow,
Pallets.
you are so easily swayed. I'm both
No,
impressed and
I
a little
defer to
nervous.
the experts.
Well, I think that we may have solved once and for all. Thanks in part to Marcia's curiosity, being the journalist that she is, and looking for further light and knowledge. She was able to go to that magical Google machine and find out some history. I love that. And then Erik, of course, having dedicated most of your life to this, I think it's fair that you would know what it's called and what you refer to it as, and maybe many of the major brands in our industry also say that. So, Terry, it's going to be a tough one for me, man. It's just out of habit. So I'm going to try for the course of the next 45 minutes, 30 minutes, however long we stay together. It's officially, and will always be on this webinar, a pallet.
Thank you. The pallets have it.
Yay!
The pallet transition. I love it. I
pallets
love
have
it
it.
so much. Well, Terry, what do we got in store for these great people? I know we put some questions together. I'm going to lean on you a little bit today because both of your amazing wisdom and your legacy in the industry, but also because you're just awesome at asking questions.
All right. Well, let me ask the first question then. So tell us about the challenges in creating platen/pallets for for direct-to-garment printers as compared to screen printing.
Okay, now Terry, you already went back on your word because you called it both things, but I'm gonna let it slide this time.
Well,
Even though
only
I'm a
for our
Geraldo-
audience. Only so that we don't confuse the audience.
Okay. Even though I'm a regular Geraldo and went all the way to Google not to leave any stone unturned to get the answer to that. But anyway, we were talking about this earlier, and it is in fact more difficult a little bit to design pallets for DTG machines as opposed to screen printing presses. And I don't know if the word is because the machines are different. And I don't know if the word more complex or more finicky is the right word. I was going to leave that up to the expert Erik to kind of expound on that, because he's the engineer and he works with our engineers here in R&D and kind of figure out, the reasons why it might be a little bit more difficult.
Is it my turn? Oh, okay.
Yeah. That was your lead in.
Gotcha. So, it's a lot more difficult, truly. I'll give you an example. Working on a project right now with the great team at Equipment Zone. We sent over first generation prototype, and it's wrong. It's not going to work. And there's a lot more nuances to nailing the design down for a DTG machine. One of the big challenges, of course, is that you've got this very expensive inkjet head that's flying back and forth over the substrate, and it's got to be extremely close to the substrate for it to be able to move quickly and accurately. And if your pallet's too high, you're going to hit the head, and that's a major problem. If the pallet's too low, you have very, very poor resolution, and a plethora of other problems if the height is not exactly where it needs to be. Also, the flatness of pallets for a DTG is actually much more critical than it is for a screen printing machine. A screen printing machine uses a squeegee that is very flexible, going over a screen that is very flexible. If your pallet has a very slight bit of bow to it, you're not going to mostly see it unless you're dealing with some really high tension screens, that is. But on an inkjet machine, there's really no tolerance for any kind of warpage in that pallet. So the flatness of it is of a greater concern than it is on regular screen printing pallets. What are some other challenges with it? Those are the big ones.
Well, those are some that's some great information, and
You know,
we are so glad that you guys have been able to work with us and to develop some of these new pallets. It's been fun to see some of these projects come to fruition from both the idea side and then the back and forth with the design side. And I know, Erik, that's probably something I'm guessing that you enjoy, but maybe what we could do is talk about that just for a second, or some of the different pallets that you're making for specifically the Epson F2100s and even the F2000s, because they're
sure.
interchangeable. But if you could share with us, maybe peel back the curtain and give us a little look at what you're working on or what you've recently done for Equipment Zone. I don't think, Terry, did we have to sign a confidentiality agreement, or are there any legal issues that we need to be aware of?
I think that while we're on camera, it's not the time to bring that up.
Oh, okay. I guess we should have double checked with with Harry. Jeff says he's not signing that, by the way. So, but no, kidding aside, let's if Erik, maybe you could share with us, some of the behind the scenes, how this works, and
I'll be happy to.
What you're working on.
Sure, thank you. One other thing, real quick, before we share that screen, I forgot to mention, and that height issue is so remarkably critical. I'm working with one of your teammates. I'm sure you know who Joey is.
Oh, yeah.
He's a great guy to work with. He's really been instrumental in helping us to develop all the products for the Epson machines. The height is such an important issue that he had us increase the height of a pallet by 0.3 millimeters. Okay.
Is that like what the
Now,
thickness of
1
paper?
millimeter is 30 thou, a little more than 30 thousandths of an inch. A third of that, okay, we're talking about like 10 thousandths in height makes a difference on these things. So it's that important.
Wow. So joking aside, Terry, we're going to have to refer to Joey as Mr. Precision from this day forward.
It is that important.
Yes, we will.
But that's really important. I'm glad you shared that, Erik, because I want our listeners and our viewers to recognize what goes into this. We're doing this webinar today in part for training purposes, for insight, for education. But we're also trying to make sure that people understand the value behind what they're buying and the importance of that and what goes into it. So there have been a few. I'm just going to be transparent and be myself. That's the only thing I know how to be. There have been a few that have been like, as Terry and I like to say, boy, you guys are sure proud of those. Like they kind of push back because they see the price and somehow think, well, how come this isn't $10 or $15, right? Like, why can't I just go to Home Depot and make my own? So I'm not saying that we haven't all been crafty at times trying to, rig something together, but I think it's really important that they see it from your side of the street and all of the precision and all of the work that goes into making this happen.
Yeah. Yeah, great. I'm ready to go. Are you?
Yeah, so share your screen. Share a little bit of the magic behind it.
Sure. Very good. Are we seeing it?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, okay, great. So this is just the basic rectangular shaped pallet for use on the Epson machines. What we're looking at is a removable head frame. This part is actually made using rubber, and our head frames, our pallets are different from what you've seen originally from Epson or from any other providers. This rubber is going to, once put down over the material, so you have the head frame up, you put your shirt over the pallet, or sleeve is possibly for this one, and when this head frame is positioned right in here, there's just very, very little gap, such so that the rubber is going to grab the t-shirt material and pull it tightly down. It flattens everything remarkably and adds a little bit of tension to the surface. So a little bit of tension is good for a lot of reasons. Number one, it's going to flatten the material. And number two, it's going to make it a bit more receptive to the ink. And you'll get a little bit better penetration from it. So this is a 7-inch by 8-inch pallet that we're manufacturing for your company now. We're also making these in, here's another size we did recently, which was 10.5 by 12.5. And you can see that we've layered these pieces. This is actually 2 pieces of 1/4-inch aluminum, specially cut to facilitate functionality and reduce the weight. So these little cutaways that you see between the layers are to eliminate weight. Something else we did, these pegs, we tried making these out of a couple of different materials, and what we found the best to be was Delrin. If you've never heard of Delrin, it's also called acetyl plastic. Extremely hard plastic. As far as plastic, it is the most expensive, the most difficult to manufacture with out of all of the standard plastics that are used for manufacturing. And so that's our 10 by 12.
So Erik, why are those posts made out of that material? Why is that so critical or so crucial?
Okay, great. So we made them first out of aluminum, and the aluminum was dimensionally accurate. But when we found out that the aluminum was going into a hole made of other metal, it was abrading and causing interference problems and making it a little bit of a challenge to get these pallets in and out without there being a little bit of an operator effort that we thought we could work around. So we tried the plastic. We had to modify dimensions on it a few times to get it just right. And after about half a dozen tries, Joey and his team signed off on it. And so the plastic enables these pallets to be put into position just unbelievably fast and smooth. And when you're trying to get them out, and of course also they're extremely accurate and will stay that way.
Yeah.
When you're trying to take them out, they come out very easily and with very little effort as well.
For anybody who doesn't have an Epson F2000 or F2100, those 2 pins, the Platens, the pallets drop onto those or just lift off of those pins to replace. So it takes seconds to change out the pallets on the machine.
So again, this is just your basic standard pallet. Another pallet design. Of course, we're able to manufacture these pallets in any size that anybody needs. Here comes the larger of them. And wow. Is your screen blank?
No, we get to see your email.
Yeah. My SolidWorks just stopped working. I guess it doesn't work so solidly after all, does it?
Well, you never know.
What was that? What happened?
You get to restart SolidWorks and share with us some other important information other than your dashboard, which you might want to minimize.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
It happens. It happens to me, Erik. So I guess you can be excited that we're always going to have a little moment like that.
So while you're reloading there, Erik, so one of these projects, how much goes into this R&D? So I know that Harry will reach out to you and say, okay, I have this idea. So what's the process there? How long does it take from start to finish?
Am I back on?
Just I'm going to stop sharing for just a second.
Yeah,
and then we'll just have the 4 of us, and you can reboot if you want.
God, I had so much more fun stuff to look at. I hate that.
Well, we'll get back to it. We'll give you some time.
Give me a minute. I'll get that back.
We've got some time. And Terry's question. Terry, you want to restate that one more time?
Yeah, would you excuse me? Thank you, please.
Oh, no problem. I'm just curious. I know Harry approaches you and says, I have this idea for a pallet. What's involved there? I mean, you're designing it there on your software, then you're going out and doing mock-ups. What's the time frame and the amount of work that goes into this R&D?
Okay, great question, sir. So I would be the first person to do some initial modeling with it, using Harry's direction and using Joey's direction. I will initially put a fundamental model together which is going to illustrate all of the important aspects and to get through a couple of maybe specialty features that are needed on this pallet design. And when I'm designing, I scream through it. The way SolidWorks works is that you first go and construct individual parts, and then you assemble them into a final model. And when I am putting parts together, I'm screaming. I'm very little concerned for being exact, very little concerned for what do I name these files. I'm getting it out of my head and into the computer absolutely as quickly as I can. And I can get that part done very quickly, after which I hand it over to one of the designers in the back, and I say, here's how it's got to be. These are the final features, and these guys already know the way I work and understand that what I'm giving them is just conceptual, it's not final. And they take my models and they clean them up, and they put real numbers into them. The reality of it is it sometimes can take even longer for me to explain than it actually takes to do. We have unbelievable software here. We have guys here with some incredible expertise, and I can take an idea from Harry and have something ready to overnight within an hour. It's been done before. So
did you hear my reaction? Damn.
Harry, here's a disclaimer. Don't expect that every time.
But that is not always.
Sorry, Marcia, you go ahead.
I was just going to say, in one of the first weeks that I worked here, Erik was first showing me SolidWorks, and he sat me down, and literally within 5 minutes, he had something totally designed. And I'd asked him at the time, where do most of our, and I think this was one of your questions too, where do most of our pallet designs come from? Is it from a manufacturer or customer demand? Or do we go out there and actively solicit, hey, this is a cool design? And what we are is really, we're problem solvers, and we love a challenge. So it is from customer demand or manufacturer demand. If there's a challenge on how to print in a unique placement or a unique substrate, Erik always uses the example for screen printing. We've even developed a pallet for a 3-ring binder. So we are here to solve the customer's problems, and that's what he does so quickly with his team of designers back there in R&D, and then we get with our machinists, and like you said, then he'll work with the manufacturer, with Joey or whoever, Harry, whoever he seems to be working with at the time, and send out some prototypes and tweak it, and then we get something that's ready to go to market really quickly, like we did the face mask pallets, which we're so proud to say that Equipment Zone is the exclusive distributor of our face mask pallets for the Epson machines.
We're pretty proud of that too, Marcia.
Yeah, I think it's pretty cool.
What we really are proud of is the relationship that we're fostering, and I don't want it to go unsaid or unnoticed that this is a lot about teamwork. This has a lot to do with communication. This has a lot to do with timing, and so we are forever grateful for your team, for your talents, Erik, and for all of the parts and pieces behind the scenes that we don't get to see today. Maybe in a future webcast we can do that, but I can only imagine how cool it must be in your shop to see these ideas come to reality and the impact that it's making in our industry. We probably gloss over just a shirt board or a pallet or a platen. In this case, these face masks are truly helping people stay safe. Now, I'm not going to get into a face mask debate or the efficacy of how many microns can pass through what fabric. That's not the point. The point is the demand was there, and that we were able to quickly together step up and create a couple of ideas, probably derivatives of other ideas that you had been working on, I'm guessing, but to make something specific for our audience, for hundreds and hundreds, if not thousands of operators, that they could then go out and on demand print one mask and make a difference. And so I hope that point is made and remembered. If there's a bright spot in our summer of 2020, right, summer of pandemics, that we can look through and say, good on us, good on you, really, and good on our printers and our audience for trying to figure out a positive through this, if that makes sense. I don't know if I'm like expressing myself well, Terry, if you follow me, but I just want to bring up that point.
You know, and speaking of face masks, you know, when you see people walking around, everybody has a different style, and you know, who knew a year ago that when you went to the bank, there'd be a sign that says you must wear a mask to enter this bank, you know. But talk to us a little bit about the approach you had to face masks, and you could have tried to do one size fits all a pallet, but obviously that wouldn't work. Talk to us a little bit about the different options that you've created.
Oh, well, thank you. When this all first started, I have never seen face masks before. Maybe saw them on news footage from guys in Hong Kong wearing face masks. I'd never seen a face mask. The first face masks I got my hands on were sent to me by my good friend Ryan Moore from Ryanet. He, of course, is manufacturing the mask and told me he was immediately going to convert his all-made manufacturing production to start producing face masks, and sent me a handful. And when I saw these, my first thought was, okay, these are face masks. That's what they will all look like. So I designed a pallet specifically for his face mask. I thought I was done. Seriously, I thought I was done. Then all of a sudden,
turns out
that was it. You know, design. We're finished. We got a mask pallet. It's ready to go. And then it wasn't, but within a couple of days, and I started seeing all of these other mask designs that people were sending in as samples. I started getting, samples sent from all the different mills, and recognized that, well, okay, we're going to definitely have more than one pallet design. So we were able to narrow it down really to two specific shapes, and that is what we call the form fit, and that is for masks that are actually a better fit on the human face. Form fit masks have that bit of a chin seam. They kind of will wrap around the nose a little bit, and they actually offer a much, much better level of protection than all of the other masks. So form fit masks are actually the best in terms of protection, but that is certainly not the majority of masks that are being worn. Most of the masks are actually the flat style, and they're just basically a rectangular piece of cloth with a couple of ear straps, and some of them have, rubber bands to go around your head. A majority of them really just have the ear straps. So we were able to narrow it down to two shapes, and then we have one that's a small square that we call it the universal, and it works on all of the different mask designs. We have made we have what we call the form fit. Then we have what we call the flat fit, and then we have what we call the universal, and we've made all of those shapes in many different custom sizes, but even as of now, custom size requests account for 5% or less of our overall business. So those three pallet designs that we keep in stock are sufficient for a vast majority of everything that's being printed right now. So
yeah, that's awesome. I was just going to follow that up, Erik, with you kind of started to answer this, and you don't need to be specific with numbers. I'm sure you know that, but just, what has been the response though? It's been pretty big, right? With all of the apparel decorators across the board.
Yeah, it was, I sat at my computer for weeks working on what this might be and trying to understand what was happening and what we, what to expect. I knew it was going to be substantial.
Yeah.
Even quite a while before the CDC ever made the announcement that they were recommending face masks, we had been for a number of weeks already working on developing the product line. And when the announcement was made by the CDC, we put the pedal to the metal. My team and I brought our blankets and pillows here All right, we camped out for quite a while getting this ready to go. And it was a substantial undertaking. It really was. We had to take the design that we had come up with for Ryan initially,
Right.
and that thing had to get thrown out the door and designed from scratch. We had to figure out something that we could build that would do the job of holding 2 layers. We got to remember these masks are all double layer. You can't hold them in place with glue, nor should you, even if you don't. But they're 2 layers, so you need a hold down, just like what we were looking at before. And you know, it was so much fun, honestly. The creativity and the energy here during the time that we were getting the product developed. But it was substantially more than that, though. We first had to get the design to the point that it was something that we could manufacture very quickly. Those are for the initial machines that we were providing. It was a tremendous undertaking to change the design and try to simplify it. So it was the big challenge really though was getting these things produced quickly.
Yeah.
And at first we thought we were going to be able to manufacture everything here, and we weren't. I ended up having to employ some outside suppliers to help us produce the parts, and we established a substantial assembly line here so that we could put things together quickly. And it was so much fun. I can't tell you, it really was.
Well, I know the CDC is in Atlanta. I learned that in season 1 of The Walking Dead. But Marcia, you guys obviously did drop everything and just do masks, right?
Yeah, well, like Erik said, he was pretty quick to respond because we saw the printers respond right away. It was first with first responders, frontline responders, trying to help them. So many printers saw that their livelihood immediately was gone overnight. Like I said in one of our other podcasts, you know, we all came out of the Long Beach Impressions Expo. It's going to be a great year. It was the best show we've ever had. And like 3 weeks later, the world totally stopped. And so we were already ahead of the curve in developing these and saw how fast the printers were responding. And then the consumers, once the CDC comes out with their recommendation, consumers have to wear them. Everyone's on lockdown. If you're outside, if you're in a business establishment, you have to wear them. So the trend keeps going, and will it last forever? Probably not, definitely not at this pace. But I think there is, like Jay said, without getting technical, political, and, you know, ethical, anything like that, I think there is going to be a certain amount of the population that is going to be like they have done in other countries and parts of the world like Asia, where people do wear a mask all the time because a lot of people have been scared and hurt by this pandemic. It's a frightening, frightening thing. And so I think masks are going to be a part of our society in some way or fashion. And so it's one way that printers, decorators, you know, can really keep their businesses going. And a lot of them, thankfully, are donating back a portion of their proceeds or donating printed masks. A lot of people are giving back. Sloan Coleman, everyone knows about her Here for Good campaign, which is just awesome. And so I think it's just really a matter of keeping up with the demand right now and seeing where it goes and just kind of putting it all out there and staying committed to it. We still are selling a ton of our other pallets, and it's not just that. We're also known for squeegees and flood bars. Today we're talking specifically about DTG pallets for the Epson machines, but we have them for other things like zipper hoodies. Like Erik was showing you the regular Platens. I didn't know if we got the SolidWorks back up or not, but he had some other things to show you. But did it come back up, Erik?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, Erik,
Okay.
let's take a look at that, because thank you,
Yeah.
Marcia. That was one of my, I was like all excited to see that. That's a new one, and I know it's going to make a big impact on our viewers and our audience.
Which one do you want to see?
The zipper
Okay.
pallet.
Gotcha. Here we go.
Well, Erik's bringing that up. We do have a question from Victor. He's asking, he says he has the form fit and the flat fit, and he also has a shoe platen from Equipment Zone. And how do I get the templates for Garment Creator software? Victor, you can call the office, or you can email support@equipmentzone.com, and we can provide those templates for you. Any platen or pallet that we sell we also provide the template that you can load into Garment Creator software. And if you need any assistance with that, our folks in our support team would be happy to help you get that loaded up.
Great question, Victor. Just tell them Terry sent you. You got it.
Exactly. Maybe
All
you'll
right,
get
Eric.
the famous Bowie.
Yeah. So what are we looking at here? That's it? That's the magic?
You can see this?
Yeah. Looks
Okay,
great.
great. So yes, this is going to be the brand new zipper hoodie platen for use on the Epson. And this pallet is got dimensions of 16 inches from here to here and 10 inches front to back. So why are there those dimensions?
So it's wider, so it's 16 wide by 10 deep. Would that be
By
how we
10
would?
long.
10 long?
So
Okay.
the reason for that limit of 10 inches is because the zipper hoodie pallets that have, the hoodie pallets that have pockets, the distance between the top of the pocket and the hood on an adult small is 10 inches. So this is going to be for all adult sized hoodies. And the pocket will drop off the back. The hood will drop off the front. And then you'll lower down your head frame. And it's going to flatten it out and lock it very tightly onto the pallet. We also have a removable part here that comes out, and you're able to put in zipper hoodies. Put it back in, and you're going to print on hoodies without a zipper, just a pullover hoodie.
Pullovers. Yeah.
Pullovers.
That is
For any of our,
We
for
have
anybody,
an H. We have an H right here on the head frame, so that you know this is for use with hoodies.
very good. For anybody who's not currently doing direct to garment printing, the whole purpose of this is the closer to the print head you can get the surface of the fabric or surface of the garment, to the closer you can get it to the print head, the more crisp the image can be. If you just use a regular pallet and had that muff pocket or the zipper pockets on top of the pallet, then the print head would have to be higher than that muff pocket, which means that up here in the print area, it's going to be further away and your image is going to be as crisp. So the whole purpose of this is to get the higher parts of the fabric away so you can get closer to the print head and get a better quality print.
Yeah, I can't tell you how many workarounds I've seen over the course of the last 3 years. All sorts of, you know, I like the problem solving. I like the creativity, but I got to tell you, Eric, this looks awesome.
Thank you very much.
It looks professional. It looks like you've addressed from every angle, you've addressed all of the challenges. And this then becomes a tool in my toolbox that is the solution. You've thought of everything.
Can you see here that we have a little bit of a cutaway?
Yeah. What is that about?
That's going to be where the zipper goes through.
Oh, got it.
Clearance
Okay,
for
so
the zipper to drop in.
that makes so it won't buckle when you put down that top hoop. Is that correct?
That is exactly right. Yeah, that's a little cutaway. This is the hem, the zipper hem cutaway between there and there. And then between here and here is where the actual zipper goes through the rubber. And we have that in the front and back.
Yeah.
So
Jeff's chiming in and says he thought that the H stood for either hoodies or possibly hairy. I'm gonna say thanks, Jeff.
you know, speaking of which, I got to give Harry full credit. This is totally his design. Seriously.
Well, no, that's fantastic.
He told me exactly how to build this thing.
I'm not surprised. I give shout outs to Harry all the time. He truly does have that manufacturing engineering, background. And
yes,
it's one of our strengths as many folks know, we are the manufacturer of the Speed Treater TX. So this is not his first rodeo, but
right.
You two work together and to see this as the final product, and to have seen a video from our team just yesterday, as a matter of fact, with the applications. But I do have a question. I don't know, Terry, if you were going to bring this up, so forgive me if I'm stepping over you. But in addition to hoodies, wouldn't that work perfect with a button down, like a 100% cotton button down shirt or a polo shirt? Couldn't we use that same?
It certainly would. That's absolutely correct. I agree.
Ah, so it's more than just the hoodie.
It
But
is. Yeah.
I think that gives us,
Yeah.
if it isn't obvious, I get excited about this because of the multiple applications and possibilities of one new tool, and being more than just a guy or a gal that prints t-shirts. Terry, how many trade shows did we used to go to in the olden days, way decades ago, when we used to travel and we'd go to trade shows in different cities? Remember those good old days? But we would tease our friendly competitors who were also selling DTG products, who were wearing embroidered polos.
Right.
And you and I always saw that as a little bit of a mismatch. I don't know. You maybe I'm bringing up something I shouldn't, but this is the kind of tool that facilitates a solution and makes it so much easier to decorate on something other than just a t-shirt.
And the cutaway there also is perfect for the placket of a shirt or the placket of a polo to drop into as well.
Mm-hmm.
And the cutaway around the top, I was more referring to.
Yeah. So in fact, this area here is a little bit wider than what we do on a screen printing machine. I can't say now. This is 2 inches now in here.
Okay.
If it were just going to be for zipper hoodies, it would have been 1.5. So we made it 2, so it would also accommodate golf shirts, button downs.
That's awesome.
Polo
Fabulous.
shirts.
So it's really a multi-purpose tool here.
It totally is, yeah. Thank you for remembering that. Absolutely.
Well, I was nudged by HO back in New Jersey. HO and NJ.
Hey, I've got another fun one here. You ready?
I'm ready. Is this something new? I haven't seen this.
It is.
Whoa, what is that?
A double sleeve pallet for use on Epsons. You'll see it soon.
Wow. Terry, have you seen that before? I haven't seen that.
I have. It's pretty awesome.
Terry, you're always in the know.
So the way this works, you're going to be printing 2 sleeves at one time. This is going to be.
Hold on. Let me ask a forgiving, be gentle with me, a potentially really dumb, revealing question. Is this 2 sleeves of the same shirt?
It could be
2 different shirts, a left and a right sleeve?
It can be either one. You could print one shirt, both sleeves simultaneously. I think for the purpose of unloading it and carrying it to the dryer, it's probably better to do them 1 sleeve at a time.
Right. I agree.
Just, the logistics of trying to have 2 wet sleeves that you carry to the dryer is probably more of a challenge than it's worth. But you could. But the way this works is this is going to be the operator side over here. You lay both layers of material over the top of the pallet. The cuff goes back here. And this assembly here allows you to hook the cuff in position, and then you'll have both hands free to pull the shirt towards you, get the seam of the sleeve into this crevice, straighten out the shirt sleeve, and then you hoop it. And this little activity of being able to lock the cuff in position using this is what makes this work where all others have failed. No one else has done this. This is the first time it's been done. The way, if you're going to want to put both layers over the top of it, you have got to be able to lock the cuff so that you can then use both hands to get the sleeve straightened out before you hoop it. And it works just brilliantly. The height is perfect. This actually took a pretty decent amount of work to do it. This one part here is a goodly amount of effort to produce it. It's all cut using one piece of material in our CNC, and probably takes a long time to produce this piece.
That's amazing. That's impressive. I love it. Terry, anything else that we need to add? I'm not trying to cut Erik short, but we're running up against some time constraints and we might have some questions. Marcia, I temporarily muted you only because it sounded like you were
maybe having a little party over there.
Yeah, getting ready to. My computer is also just kind of glitching out big time, so I don't want to shortcut anything. But we're at one of those amazing moments where if this all just turns off, you'll know why.
Well, I think, Jay, if we're ready for any questions anybody might have, I know we've answered one or two here already as we go.
I'm looking quickly through the chat to make sure we didn't miss any. Is there anything else there? I think that's it, unless there's any other questions or anything else we should add for our friends Erik and Marcia. Let's see if I can unmute Marcia here before I turn this thing off.
Let's talk about rock and roll.
Rock and roll? We could do that.
We were taking a trip down memory lane before the show started. Look at that, before the show started. And we have to do that on these type of events since we don't have trade shows anymore. We have to catch up with our trade show friends through Zoom and Zoom webinars.
Well,
all right. Sorry, I'm trying to make sure I have my panelists here. You have no idea what's going on behind the screens right now. It is full-scale pandemonium. I think it's time for me to take my little laptop in and get some vitamin C. I have Marcia on mute, and I can't turn her back on. So, Marcia, you'll have to forgive me. That's my fault. And my screen is flickering, and I see all of you, and that's about it. So if there's anything else, Terry, I'm going to leave it into your hands and hope this records.
Okay. Well, I think I'll just say thanks to both of you for being on the show with us today. And if anybody has questions for Erik or Marcia, Erik, how can people reach out directly to you guys?
You can't. Everything is exclusive through Equipment Zone.
Perfect.
All ups and orders are exclusively through Equipment Zone. We don't sell direct.
Marcia, you can unmute yourself, I think, if you'll give it a try. There you go.
See, now I knew at some point in my career someone was going to mute this loudmouth.
I do not want to have that legacy. I got to tell you, I just don't need that in my life.
You did it to me, but I apologize. I have my door shut, but those were our phones ringing off the hook that you can hear everybody on the outside on the phone.
They're so excited to get new pallets from Action that the phones are ringing off the hooks. You guys have been wonderful. Erik, it was such a treat to have you show us some of that behind the scenes. To me, it's almost like wizardry. It's like magic. It's like, thank God there were people like you that took to this and could collaborate with our team and take an idea and not only execute the idea, but quite honestly, make it even better, significantly better, so that operators can have a profitable experience. This all comes down to, it has to work and make me money, and it has to be profitable. Don't you think, Terry?
Absolutely, absolutely. And the fact that you guys have worked with us on this exclusive basis, we appreciate very much. And anybody who's interested in any of these Platens, reach out to equipmentzone.com. We're happy to answer any questions you might have.
We would indeed. And I'm going to try, just for the sake of, because I like to punish myself. Terry, can you see my screen? What are you seeing right now?
Just the four of us. Okay,
so never mind. We'll just wrap up with a great big old thank you, and that's all I've got.
Thank you, guys.
Visit our website, obviously equipmentzone.com, as Terry said. If you need more specific information, would please reach out to Terry first, or any of our sales team, or any of our customer service team. We're excited. We will be doing some upcoming live printing so that we can show these pallets in action. We just recently completed the new shoe pallet, but we're excited to show these other ones that Erik and his team have created. So keep tuned, stay tuned, subscribe to our YouTube channel, please. That way you instantly get a notification no matter what we upload, which is all good stuff. I think, Terry, you would concur.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Don't you just love that word, concur? It's like
I concur.
I concur.
Doctor.
You know what I'm talking about. Well, thank you guys. Thank you, Marcia. So great to see you. Bye, everybody.